Now we're moving into Hauora and taiao, health and environment. I'm getting another whārangi here all scribbled up, but pai ana tira. I'll get it. My education's pretty sweet, I can read. Tēnei mea tuatahi. Ai te tuatahi ko te tuka kia koe e hone. Environmental sustainability. What support can be offered to the local whānau hapu level to enable self-management of these areas? So our take that have been coming up have been around awa, papatakoro in some areas, just a general upkeep of our whenua ne. So koina te pātai, tukuna te kia koe.
You know, a lot of these, there are some things in life that aren't going to change as a result of national politics. One of them is our commitment to looking after our own rivers. They can make all of the rules they like in Wellington, but if we're going to dump our cars in the river, then we're the ones creating the problem. Hey, we have to look deeply into ourselves about just how important this is. I mean, if we want our rivers to be clean, we've got to keep the rubbish out of them in the first instance. We've got to plant around them as well to make sure none of the kaka from anywhere gets in there. We need to recognize that water is the source of all life. Once we do that, once we recognize those values which are mai rano, wena whakaro, wena tikala, whakahoki atu ki wena wahi whakaro, once we've got that, we're on the way to looking after those sorts of things. Government can make rules, etc., about a whole lot of things. But on simple things at a low level, we have to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, are we doing as much as we can be doing? As far as the council is concerned, they're doing a hell of a lot that they're not doing enough. They should be lifting standards of what gets discharged into our rivers, and they don't. They should be allowing locals to make decisions about what the waterways are going to be, where they're going to flow. So if there's going to be a flood, what areas get flooded and what areas don't. Those sort of decisions are all being made at Keri Keri, and that's why people in Morua get flooded and people in Keri Keri don't. So bring the decisions back home. Kia ora tata.
And on those same lines, would like to ask you the same whātai, Les. Again, looking at your expertise around the industry. I know in years gone, just recently, we've had some of the forestry up in out in our ways around Matawaia, around Mokoto, and that where issues around the logging actually, and I heard you say, you know, quite a few of your members are from there, where they were talking about the care of the whenua after the trees have actually been cut. So the same part that goes to you around environmental sustainability. What support can be offered to local whānau, hapu level, to enable self-management of these areas?
Kia ora, thank you for that question. The environment is important, and Focus New Zealand does talk regularly about it. As far as looking after your own rivers, Hone nailed it there. You didn't hold up, you nailed it. The responsibility does come back to you in the local hapus. It's up to you to start, but there is some wider significance there. It might be unusual to you that I'm in the farming industry, and so I know how critical it is in the dairy industry to manage your cow effluent. Okay? Let me tell you that they can dump 10,000 cubic metres of raw human sewage into the Waitangi River and say sorry. That's what the council can do. They have a consent to do it. Whangarei Council has the same issue. They can dump it in there and say sorry. They just put notices in the paper, don't eat the shellfish. Not acceptable. Totally not acceptable. I have a cow stand on a effluent pipe, breaks it, doesn't go anywhere near the river, and they charge me $1,400. No, tough rules for us, no rules for them. You talked about logging. Look, I'm in the logging industry. We do have logging gangs and forests. And the compliance, that is the rules that go with it, are so onerous or so expensive that your people and my people, they can't work, hardly get a job there, because the rules are so tough. They are very conscientious about their responsibility. It is a great source of income for landowners. You go down to Miti and Pangaru, those people have not much alternative but to plant their multiple owned land in forest, and then the council and the government punish them when it comes to getting them out. They punish them. They don't provide the roads, even though for 30 years they pay rates. They don't provide the facilities for all the regulation for it to happen. Kia ora.
Pātai Tūrua, and so we've identified my panel of experts here on political issues and such things. Have decided we're going to rally people together, and so we can get some kia rua mai ngā whakaaro. So the second pātai, and I'm going to ask it to you, i te tuta Clinton, what is your party going to do to improve our waterways? What would this include education programs? What would they look like? Can you provide a wider available recycling system for rural areas to prevent illegal dumping? Kia mahara tātou, these questions are near and dear to our hearts, ne? So, kia kaha.
Building healthy communities. A lot of the questions and pātais that we've had this evening is about building healthy communities. It's about being community-led. It's about the community finding solutions to their issues that the community leads it, that the whānau hapu, they lead it. Every single question that you will come tonight, the power comes back to us. If you want to know what the independent party, that's not us, ain't a party. I'm a voice that's here to support the others on the stage. And under MMP, we've got an opportunity to do that. Lake Tangonga, up in Tararo, working with the Marae Committee, working with Te Rarawa, working with Pote Poko Primary School, Ahipara, working with Kaitaia College, working with Pukemero Kura Kaupapa, starting from our nohi-nohis right up to our kaumātua and kuia, wānanga every month, wānanga about how do we maintain the integrity of our waterways. We know the tapu associated with the wai. We know that there are opportunities out there. We do it with a community base, where the hapu and whānau are leading, not being imposed upon, not being led, not being told, where we say what we want for our people. And no disrespect our resident evils, the district councils, making rules and regulations, with absolutely no thought for the hokainga, no thought for the hapu, no thought for the whānau. The power comes back to us. Our independent voice is here to support the Greens, to support all the mahi that has been done by these people here, because we all have the same whakaaro. Without water, we are nothing. Kia ora koutou.
Tēnei pātai anu hoki. I'm going to, I think we're all very interested in Marama on your whakaaro about that very same issue. As the Green Party are passionate, so anei te pātai, anō. What is your party going to do to improve our waterways? Would this include education programs? What would they look like? Can you provide a wider available recycling system for rural areas to prevent illegal dumping?
Kia ora koutou katoa. So cleaning up our rivers is one of our priorities as a party. So I understand intimately, coming from Hokianga, where we put in wastewater management that just went wrong 30 years ago, and our people back then were saying it was going to go wrong, and now we're paying for it now. So I understand intimately that the work on the ground with our own people and caring for our waterways will always happen. So I agree with Hone there. But governments successive, I have to say, have been making decisions that provide barriers to us doing our own work on the ground. So at the moment, the National Party water standards are safe enough to put your toe in, but not much more. What we need, and what the Green Party will do, is establish a water standard that at the least makes sure all of our rivers are good enough to swim in. at the least. But more importantly is the Green Party has always strongly upheld mana whenua rangatiratanga, and so we would establish a national network of prioritised awa where we work with hapu and marae to choose those rivers which are important, and we know they're all important, but to start off with those rivers that are dear to our ngākau and come up with a plan of how we don't get it just good enough to swim in, but to eat from. And we believe that we might be able to get there for some of our awa, and that's where, with our hapu and marae plans, we could start looking at our education programs for that community. How could you not grow education around the work of caring for your awa? So we would make sure that that happens, but most importantly, have a standard there in the first place so that we can aspire to properly cleaning up our awa. Kia ora.
Awesome. Moving right along, ha tēnei kia koe e te hira. Deep sea drilling. Don't want it, don't need it. How can we ensure our voices are worth more than the dollar value and that our opinions will be heard and respected? Right?
Ai kia ora tātou, e mehia ke ana kia koutou me nā pakanga, ai pakanga hia mo te keri whenua o nā rawa o Papatuanuku. Kai te akitanga, rōputuranga o pū Māori, kore rawa mātou ai whakai. Ko te taupatu nui pēr, e pēhea tātou, e te aki o tātou mo ana awa whenua, e pēhea reini tātou e whiwhi mahi mo te iwi. Kia kaua tātou e pōhehe, kei wela keritanga te kaura nui, te kapa nui hei whaitanga mā tātou. Puta mai ana te ripota, te kāwanatanga e mēngi ana he hua, a pū tēnei kariro ki te iwi, engari ko koutou, ko tātou e moihu ana kore kau. Nā reira, o tāte roa puturanga pū Māori, kua hau, e kōrero nei wa ku kōrero, kāo, kore kau whakai.
Taua pātai rāno, kia koe Kelvin, same thing, deep sea drilling, don't want it, don't need it. How can we ensure our voices are worth more than the dollar and that our opinions will be heard and respected?
Kia ora tātou. I'll start off with gold mining in Puhi and then move on to the deep sea oil drilling. Gold mining is apparently the most paru of all mining. They need these big pits to hold the arsenic sludge in there. Now, if Puhi is mined and they have to build one of these dams across a valley because of the geology, when that dam goes, and it will go in 100 years or 1,000 years or whenever, everything downstream of that dam will be killed by the arsenic sludge. So Puhi is the headwaters, goes right out through the Kaipara harbour. Kaipara is where 98% of our west coast snapper are bred. So there's no way on earth I would ever support gold mining in Puhi. On the other side of the hill is us out at Ngāti Manu, and if they did the same thing over there, then Taumarere would basically be killed. So on to the deep sea oil drilling. Now, I'm a direct descendant of Tō Hea, who's a tūpuna up at Kapawairua. He and his servant Araki marched down the west coast of the North Island, down 90 Mile Beach, naming places as they went, got to Ahipara, across the Herekino, down to the Hokianga Harbour, swam across there, carried on down the west coast towards Ripiro, Bailey's Beach, and he eventually died there, and his eyes were plucked out by some birds, hence the name Ngāti Manu, our hapu. Now, so I whakapapa directly to that coast, and as a kaitiaki, I cannot, in all conscience, support deep sea oil drilling in the possibility that oil will be spilled there at some stage in the future, and I won't be able to go and get my tour off 90 Mile Beach. And people laugh when I say that, but the thing is that you can, sorry, just give me a second longer. When the sea's too rough and you can't get flowers, you can't get kinners, and you can't fish, you can always go and get tua to feed the whānau, and if that's taken away from us, then we can't feed our whānau with the most basic of kai.
The Labour Party is for deep sea drilling. You might not agree with that, Kelvin, but the Labour Party is for deep sea drilling.
We'll have plenty of time for kōrero. We're going to have a cup of tea after this too. So, paina tera, ke kona ngau tuara, ke kona tūmataonga. Well-named whare for those very reasons. Ka hare tata ki re rānia, I think. So, tēnei te pātai kia koe te matua e kuta. A non-reversible protection plan for the retention of land and assets. A non-reversible protection plan for the retention of land and assets. What would this look like? Nā tēnei he pātai mai te haukainga. This is what we want next for our taiao. And what can you do to make this happen? This is what we want. Tēnei tomato hihia, a non-reversible protection plan for the retention of land and assets.
Tēnā wei te tūkaha. Tēnā pēr mena ka hore koutou I mohio mai I hana te kaupapa o Aotearoa tuatahi. Keep it in New Zealand's hands. Hore koe te kororo tuatu tēnā. Kau e hokana atu ki ngā tangata mai tā wahi. Mena e titirana I a tātou I te hokonga o ngā pāmu kreiwha. Aha koa, ki reira te tahi rōpu Māori, I honongi te tahi Pākehā, hi hina ki hokongi o a pāmu, ki hai te tari mo te kawanatanga I hakai. Nā rātau I hokana atu ki ngā hainama. So, it's quite clear in terms of our kaupapa, keep it within New Zealand hands. And mena, ko tauke ngā kreme, tēnā pēr wena tatahi o ngā kaupapa I taka mai o a kreme, kia hokongia, kia whakahokia mai ngā whenua. Engari, ko te mea nui, ko e tukunatu he tāma, kia whakahokia mai te kawanatanga kia tātou. But at the end of the day, we have to be quite strong in terms of retaining our assets within this country. And that's the difficulty that we're going to have. And I know that, for instance, the National Party is crapping themselves that New Zealand First will be the kingmaker, because that will be one of our bottom lines. So what will karangatu kia koutou? Party vote New Zealand First.
I should have seen that coming next year. I knew that. Kuna te korero New Zealand First. Ka pai. Tēnei te pātai, hei whakamutu I tēnei wahanga kia koe e wila. Me tō mōhio, I know you know about this. Dust hazards have been an ongoing major concern for rural whānau. Sealing our rural roads in Ngāti Hine is a priority for our people. How can you help to speed up and implement an action plan to counter the dust hazards? Ne? Ka pai? Ka koe te wā.
Ai, he pātai pai anō tērā mo te kai kaunihira I roto I te whare. I can almost pick which questions are going to come to me in each of the topics, but pai, thank you for giving me that question. Margaret and I, as your representatives on council, have been working really, really hard to address the dust issues in our community in the Bay of Islands Whangaroa ward and in the Kawakawa Moeroa community. Every opportunity we get, we are lobbying for our roads, and this year we worked closely with the residents of Ngā Pipito to make a submission to council for our annual plan, which was the first time ever, and it was a really moving presentation. But the challenge for us is to get it to central government, because that is where the money is and that is where the support is. Our council spent 50% of its budget on roading last year, and not a new piece of seal ended up in this area. National government cut the funding for roading over the last 6 years, so unless our road is a road of national significance, we don't get a single cent to seal new roads. And that's a problem for Ngā Pipito, Pokapū, Pipiwai and all of those other roads. And our rape, Matua, Waikare, who else is in here, Rāwhiti, Titi, only 30% of our roads are actually tar sealed in Northland. So it's a huge issue for us, for health, for safety, for the economy as well. The last storm did $30 million worth of damage to our Northland roads, and for some of our priority roads, up to 2 years to fix them. So central government is where it's at. That's why I want to be a strong representative for our communities and for Northland, because you, as our ratepayers on low average incomes, can't afford to foot the bill. Kia ora.